What is up, my little Deinos? Vepsis here, your coach of the Helsinki Tigers, and I'm back from my NPL Tryout Tournament Top 8 bracket game versus Specstar and his team being the Tangclan. If you have missed out on my previous games throughout this tournament and how I got so far, the playlist for that should be down below in the description. And also to my opponent's channel, there should be a link for that as well if you want to see from his point of view. Either this game or his previous games, it's definitely worth to check out. The question of the day will be, what is your favorite choice scarf user to use in Draft League format and why? The reason for this topic is that this is gonna be an item that is gonna be very essential for me to get rid of from my opponent potentially throughout this game. At least this is how I thought throughout the team building aspect, and because of that I do feel like my opponent is somewhat forced to bring that item on a couple of his modes at very least, considering the matchup that I have versus his own team and considering the speed tiers along with it. So that is gonna be the topic, and looking at our opponent, Specstar is sitting at 5-1 and plus 12 differential. This is a combined record between pool games and the top 16 bracket game what he had, which he was able to win to get this far, and the same goes for my own differential and wins with 5-0 and plus 22 differential after playing my pool games and also my top 16 bracket game which I was able to win. So that is the idea there. At this point it's only a matter of which one of us is gonna be winning, and the winning only matters throughout the bracket games, but I figured it would be a cool aspect to still be able to keep a track on the differentials and the records as we go. So that's the idea there with the layout. And going into the matchup itself, that what is my opponent drafted for this tournament and what kind of team he was able to get this for, and what I had to now prepare for. Specstar has drafted himself Deinos, which is one of his C captains, Heatran, Mega Venusaur, Crocodile, Keldeo, Swallow, Comfy, Electros, which is one of his C captains, Gastrodon, Hitmonchan, Swadloon, and Girafarig being his final C captain and his final roster of the team as well. My C captains, as a reminder, are Tapu Koko, Incineroar, so that is gonna be basically the match of what we have in our hand and what kind of team I had to prepare for. And like I mentioned about the question of the day, I definitely expected, as I was team building, that my opponent needs to bring some sort of choice scarf first to deal with my speed advantage what I have with Coco and Mega Pidgeot. And considering how his mons I feel like gonna be functioning better with choice scarf than without them, and those two mons specifically how I felt like would be Heatran and Crocodile. I feel like if they are not choice scarf, he's basically hindering himself a lot more, considering how a lot easier it's for me to deal with them and revenge kill them than without them able to outspeed me potentially with the choice scarf. The other two mons which I can see being a scarf, but they aren't as essential to have it to function well, would be Keldeo and Deinos. Keldeo's case, if it's not scarf, I expect it to be Specs. I don't see any other set making as much sense versus me. Deinos being his C captain, obviously he could run the C crystal, or he can do multiple other things and run other items versus my own team, and it's gonna be harder more for me to figure out what kind of item it's running or what kind of set it's running, but I definitely expect it to come considering how good a mon it is in itself obviously, but also how well it can do work versus my own team compared to the other mons what he has. So going into this matchup, I figured Mega Venusaur, Electros core will come to deal with my Coco Mega Pidgeot for example. Then from there I expected the Crocodile come with choice scarf, and then I expect the Deinos to come, which is more of a question mark what it's gonna do. That was the initial thoughts. After that it could be the Heatran, Keldeo, Swallow, Comfy or Gastrodon. That's kinda like how I see this matchup and what I can expect him to bring and what I have to be heavily prepared for. The last 3 months I don't expect it to come. Even if they come, I'm ready for them, and that doesn't really require too much considering how underwhelming they are in their own right. Hitmonchan only is viable to come to provide hazard control, but that's literally it, and I don't think that's enough from my point of view at least to think it's worth it to him to bring, considering how underwhelming it is besides that. But that's the initial thoughts, and now let's go through that what kind of team I'm bringing. And the mod what I'm decided to bring first going to this matchup will be my Tapu Koko, and Tapu Koko will be a expert belt set, enough speed to outspeed Swallow naturally, with Volt Switch, Dazzling Gleam, Nature's Madness and Grass Knot, and this is the 4 move set that I figured would be the most optimal versus him. I considered putting a Flynium Sea Brave Bird to deal with the Mega Venusaur, but I wasn't too happy with the cogs, especially when I don't know what kind of spread it's gonna be. So I prefer to run the expert belt, because it should be more efficient, and it can also cover him bringing Gastrodon, for example, because I had a weird feeling that it could come still, and I wanted to cover that instead, because it happens to be that with the expert belt, either 2 Grass Knots will 2-shot it, barring it to be Rindoberry, even especially defensive, or with Nature's Madness plus Grass Knot will do the same thing again, barring it being the Rindoberry. So I figured it would be good to go this route. Nature's Madness is great as well, just to be able to cripple some other things like Electros, which to me is very much an essential for me to whittle it down as quickly as possible, so I make it as least effective versus me and not allow it to do too much annoying stuff what we know that Electros can do, because it's so bulky naturally. With Assault Vest it makes it even itself more bulkier, and it's definitely gonna run that for my Mega Pidgeot or for my Tapu Koko. And just be able to cripple itself, and him not having any kind of Wish passing support to really, or I guess Giraffere could have it, but I don't expect it to come again. So I kinda expect any kind of damage what Electros is gonna take, it's gonna be there to stay. So it would be great to just cripple that. Versus things like Mega Venusaur, even though I don't hit it too hard naturally, the Nature's Madness at least puts it at half amount of health, which basically makes him think that he has to go for Synthesis on following turn, which is a turn I can go for the Volt Switch, and then I get something in for free instead of having to think that what kind of move he's gonna be clicking coming into my way. So this should be a good set in that regard to function. Volt Switch is the not only electric type stab I need to hit things what I needed to and finish them all, which is basically Keldeo and Swallow. And it's gonna be great for the momentum itself. So that is gonna be the first mon. Then the next mon what I'm gonna be bringing is gonna be my Heracross. And Heracross is gonna be doing the things that it has been doing so far throughout this tournament. Yet again, Dual Stab plus Facade plus Sword Dance with Clutch Flame Offset. They should be basically enough to provide me the wall breaker that I wanted to bring, just to get rid of his fat mons. Versus his offense, especially if they are Scarf like Heatran, it cannot do as much work. Or something like Latios can easily finish it off, or Swallow or something like that. But I'm not too worried about that and not gonna bring it because of that. I still need it for the wall breaking role. And if I'm able to utilize it properly and bring it in for safely with my momentum option, with Koko and with the other members of my team, I should be in a good shape to get the most out of the Heracross, what I really need it for. And then we have enough speed to outspeed the Heatran. Off the chance I'm able to knock off the basically very likely Choice Scarf, what it's probably gonna be running if it's going to come. So once I'm able to do that, I should be able to outspeed it, and you're gonna be seeing one of my mons which I expect to potentially be able to hit it with knockoff, should be able to help my Heracross in that regard. So that is gonna be the idea with there. Just enough IVs yet again to provide the 9 ending HP number to basically minimize the recall what I have to take with the Flame Orb recall. So that is the Heracross. The next mod what we are gonna be bringing is gonna be our Kevin. Mega Pidgeot is coming yet again, and Mega Pidgeot is gonna be running a bulkier set with enough special attack to provide the offensive pressure what I really need it for. It has enough special attack to do it KO a standard Latios, and if it has more bulk I should be still able to do it after Stealth Rock. So that is the benchmark there. Then we have Hurricane for stab, obviously. Hidden Power Crown is pretty obviously for the Heatran. Roost for recovery. And then the Toxic is there over U-turn just as a last minute change. Or not really technically last minute change, but very last change is what I made after the team was for the most part being done. And I changed it for just in case if I needed to land on Comfy, because Comfy is gonna be a mod that if it's gonna come, I'm a little bit prone to it. Only because I don't bring my natural checks to it in Ferrothorn or Tentacruel in this matchup. So I figured that just in case if it's gonna come, I don't wanna just lose to it straight up from there. if I don't play around it properly. So Mega Pixel hopefully is gonna able to deal with that as long as it's not have enough turns to calm mine up. And then I can put it on a timer with Toxic and then combine with Toxic Recall with Hurricane plus Roost. I should be able to beat it 1v1 because I really don't expect it to have Heal Bell or Aromatherapy in that matter. And he shouldn't have any other members to really do that for itself to get rid of that Toxic. So I should be able to deal with it from there. And yeah, this should be also a set that can actually also beat Electros and Cascador 1v1 depending on what set they are running themselves. But just the off the chance I'm able to do, I figured that, well, it covers the Comfy and this thing can coolly enough to be able to beat his Electric type 1v1 if he doesn't have Fighting type coverage to hit me after I go for Roost, or he has Acid Spray to keep lowering my special defense to the point that even getting rid of my Electric type weakness is not gonna benefit me. But if those requirements are met and he doesn't have either of those, then this thing can beat it 1v1 technically with Toxic Roost shenanigans. So I really like that set from there. And the changes what I made. And the idea behind it is that I make my Mega Pidgeot as hard as possible for him to revenge kill. Especially with his choice Scarfish, because with this amount of bulk, I avoid a lot of guaranteed 1-hit KOs from his strongest offensive threats. With the hardest hitting moves what they can hit me with, especially if they are choice Scarf to try to outspeed me. So that was kind of the thoughts and the things that I really thought that would be really beneficial for me to go bulkier route with Mega Pixel Spread and just have this amount of special attack to give me the 2-hit KOs what I really need it for. So that's the idea there. The next mod what we are gonna be bringing is gonna be a mod that is gonna make its debut finally, and that is gonna be our Licky Licky. And Licky Licky is gonna be just very standard spread or very standard set in general. Not having Heal Bell actually, because we are gonna be having Heal Bell on our following member to go along with this mon. And this mon is particularly there to deal with Heatran, but it can also deal with a lot of other special attackers because of its natural bulk and with the special defense investment what we put on it. Then Body Slam plus Earthquake provides me basically anything what I really want it for when it comes to attacking moves, and Wish Protect just for the recovery. And then we have enough speed to outspeed a Heatran once it's being knocked off from the Choice Scarf, what I expect it to have, and also after it's being paralyzed. So there are some things to be able to accomplish to meet that mark, but just in case if I'm able to meet them, I then have the option to outspeed it and kill it with Earthquake or go for the Wish before it attacks me. So that's the idea there, nothing too special with Licky Licky. Then the next mod, which is gonna be packing the Heal Bell for this thing if necessary, or for the other things on my team, will be Yuxi. And Yuxi is gonna be providing me the Stealth Rocks, what I figure that would be always useful to have. Most of the time you want to always have Stealth Rocks because it's arguably the best move in the game, but that's another topic for another time. Either way, I figure they are always gonna be benefiting me to bring them if I'm able to keep them up. Then we have Heal Bell, which I mentioned that I wanted to have as a support, so therefore out Yuxi and Licky Licky kind of work really good special defensive mon partners. Cause even this thing is specially defensive invested, all the fighting type physical hits he could throw at me, I can basically take with my Yuxi from like Keldeo and Hitmonchan for example to support my Licky Licky's only weakness. So I figure they are good partners in that regard, even with similar bulk investments and where they are invested on. Then we have U-turn for momentum, and Knockoff is here mainly to get rid of his choice scarves, because like I mentioned before that I really expect him to carry those, and this is hopefully the ideal mon to do that for me, because Heatran basically walls me completely to death. Like I cannot do much to Heatran, even when I try to run like a Hidden Power Crown, I can't do jack shit to it. So assuming that it's gonna be Choice Scarf, just getting rid of its Choice Scarf is gonna benefit me my other 3 mons, or my first 3 mons being the Coco, to be able to finish it off with 7 range of Volt Switch. Heracross outspeeds it and kills it then, and Mega Pidgeot can outspeed it and potentially kill it with Hidden Power Crown if it's enough in range to do that. So I figured that would be really good to have on this thing over something like a Psychic Stab, because I don't expect it to do too much with that, instead of just getting rid of those Choice Scarves. The other things what I can get them auto versus which I expect them to have would be the Crocodile, which yet again I cannot do too much to it, and it's a potential switching to me. So if I eliminate the knock with the knock of that Choice Scarf, that means the Coco doesn't have to fear it anymore having it, and be able to actually outspeed it and kill it eventually. So I like that synergy there as well. And also versus the Keldeo, even though this is kind of like a primary response to it and I cannot touch it, like I still expect it to be either Specs or I expect it to be Scarf. And eliminating one of those items to it, that's all I really need Yuxi for. And then I can get a slow U-turn off, potentially if needed to. And then I bring Coco in just to revenge it with Volt Switch. Or I go to Mega Pizza and finish it off with Hurricane. So I figured Yuxi provides me more, and it's gonna be more beneficial to me go this route instead of having the stab itself. So that's the idea there. And then the last one of our team is gonna be Mon, that hopefully is gonna provide us hazard control just to eliminate potential stealth rocks or even sticky webs if the Swadloon would come, and that is gonna be our Gliscor. This also provides me a switching to Crocodile, which looked at this point of time a little bit annoying, especially to my defensive mons. So this kind of provides me that to complete my defensive core, and especially if I'm able to play around this Gliscor to the point that it had its chance to activate its Toxico plus Poison Heal, then I don't have to worry about Crocodile ever clicking knockoff, because then I don't have to fear not being able to do that already. So hopefully I'm able to accomplish that if I need to. Then we have Earthquake, Defog, a Roost and U-turn basically, and then we have enough speed to outspeed Crocodile, which is speed creeping a max speed Jolly Heracross, and a little bit of going safe with it too, just in case. Off the chance yet again, if it's not Scarf or I've been able to already eliminate it, so then my Gliscor can always outspeed it and go for Roost for first. I can go for U-turn to finish it off and get myself out of there, not be left vulnerable for something else to come in. Or I can finish it off with Earthquake if necessary, or go for the Defog. So basically just provide that speed that I figured would be the best. And just in case if it's like a taunt Crocodile, he cannot taunt me before I go for my move first, ideally. And then the rest I just throw in on bulk on both sides to leave as many hits as possible. Mainly the special defense avoids me to take certain hits after stealth rocks from his special attackers, as many things as possible. And then I added the rest on the physical bulk just to be able to take the physical hits, what it's mainly there for. But that is gonna be the team. And I'm gonna be coming back yet again with the replay once I have it open, so give me a couple of seconds and alright, we are back with the replay. We are gonna be seeing that my opponent decided to bring Mega Venusaur, Heatran, Keldeo, Swellow, Electros and Hitmonchan, and a couple of surprises that he didn't bring either Crocodile or the Latios, which I definitely expect him to bring. And he brought Hitmonchan, which I definitely did not really expect him to bring, but it definitely tells me that he was afraid of hazard stacking from my behalf, and he wanted to add that remover for his other members of his team to be able to be hazard free from his behalf. So looking at that, he did bring the Heatran. I definitely expect to be Choice Scarf, and it's his only rock setter, so I definitely expect it now to be his rocker. But also I definitely have to scout it to be Choice Scarf, which made most sense to me, Heatran being itself. Keldeo, I'm not sure that if it's gonna be Specs or Scarf. Specs is the one what I feel a little bit more, because it's more harder for me to deal with defensively wise, but I do have easier ways to revenge kill it with my Coco or Mega Pizza, so it's kind of like how I want to view it, but I definitely was more worried about it being Specs. And speaking of Specs, it could also be the Swellow, which is always going to be a little bit annoying to deal with until I'm able to position myself offensively versus it and be able to finish it off. And I really will need Heracross to put up the work, in a sense that I needed to break down the Mega Venusaur, I need to break it down the Electros and use them as especially the Electros as a liability, hopefully to claim a kill whenever I know it's gonna be coming in and play according to it, and go from there to the point that hopefully my own speed is able to overwhelm him and be able to pick them up from there. So either way, I'm gonna be leading up with my Tapu Koko, because I was expecting the Electros to be a lead, and it was very annoying for me to lead anything else if that's gonna be his lead of choice, and I could be able to get the Nature's Madness off on that Electros, or if he chooses to swap out and not let it take a potential Nature Madness go to Mega Venusaur, that gives me a free turn to go for the Volt Switch on the following turn, but he decides to lead with his Heatran, and I'll immediately I wanted to scout this being a potential choice scarf and not take any potential hit from Heatran, because he could potentially OHKO me depending on what move he clicks, and he did click Overheat, and that kind of tells me that it's probably gonna be the choice scarf like I was really expected to be, because now not really other set will really make sense to me, at least to be a vision set with the Heatran, and here I was able to basically go into Licky and I get up the Wish up from there and try to heal myself back up as he went to his Hitmonchan. Then he made double back into Keldeo, I guess expecting the protect, and I was like, well, okay, I'm just gonna protect again because I really expected you to be Specs or Scarf, so I can kind of scout which move you're gonna be locking yourself into and play from there. And then he makes another double back to the Hitmonchan as I go for the protect, so kind of interesting doubles from his behalf. But I guess he has his own reasoning to it and kind of wanted to preserve Keldeo, not be locked into water type move, I guess. But either way, for me, it's perfectly fine that he goes into Hitmonchan, because now I get into Yuxi, and now I'm gonna be going for the rocks, expecting him to be forced out, because I'm a Yuxi. I could potentially have my Psychic Stab carrying it, and he doesn't know anything about my set. And more importantly, I'm able to go for the rocks. And he does go into the Heatran, and this was kind of like where I hope that Knockoff will be coming into play. Because now, I kind of expect him to go for attacking move or for the rocks and be that choice scarf. And either would have been fine for me, because now I'm able to get up the Knockoff, and this eliminates the choice scarf. And this is huge for my offensive threats like Mega Pidgeot, Heracross and Koko, because now they are able to outspeed it. And now I basically hindered this Heatran's matchup versus my own team quite significantly, because it doesn't have it anymore. And here I'm able to just go into my Licky on the following turn, take this overheat just fine even after rocks, and then I get off a Wish as he sees that coming and doesn't want to come in or stay in on that Heatran anymore after being -2 special attack, so he figured it would be better for him to swap. And he's gonna take this opportunity to go into Hitmonchan, get up potentially Rapid Spin, which I don't really care because it's gonna fail on this protect as I receive the Wish. And on the following turn, when I expect him to go for the yet again, because it's not really too much a drawback to his point of view, when it it really isn't from his point of view when you think about it, because then he can just go from there and be hazard free. So I figured that okay, I'm gonna go into the Yuxi again on this Hitmonchan, but now I'm gonna use this turn going for the U-turn as I expect the Heatran to come in. Cause I would think that he's gonna be either respecting me still have the Psychic type move and take that just fine, or he's gonna respect the fact that I have Knockoff and he doesn't want anything else to get being knocked off. But he does make the play going to Swallow, I guess expecting me to try to get the rocks up back again and go offensive. But this works out perfectly fine for me, even though I have to take round of rocks with Koko, which is a little bit unfortunate. But I decide to take this opportunity to go into it, force that Swallow out or kill it if he whatever reason stays in. And then I gain initiative as he goes into Electros, and this gives me a free turn to go into my Heracross, which hopefully is able to claim a kill with a close combat. Even if he goes to Mega Venusaur, it's perfectly fine, because then I can do massive damage from there. Or I can use that turn to go into Gliscor and get up my Defog, which basically would have been probably what I would have done if he predicted my close combat. But thankfully he doesn't try to do that, and he doesn't want to risk his Mega Venusaur. He's instead of just sacking the Heatran, which basically did all it can do, because it's been always swapped by the Licky. He got his rocks up, and he doesn't have the Choice Scarf intact anymore, so I can figure then see that okay, that made a lot of sense for him to sack it, and thankfully I did click the close combat and not really waste too much time on that in that sense. And now I go into Licky. As he went to his Keldeo, I expected him to force to go for the water type move in front of the Heracross at that point. And he's gonna miss the Hydro Pump, which is definitely always unfortunate when you miss the move. But this also means that I don't know based on the damage output he could have potentially done to intensify if that Keldeo is Specs or Scarf, which would have been nice to be able to know by now, but now it's still a little bit of mystery which one it's gonna be based on how he's been utilizing it and based on the matchup itself. But either way, after going for the Body Slam, this Mega Venusaur, before Mega Evolving and based on the damage, it definitely tells me that it's a very physically defensive, if not max defense. So that's good information to have, and somewhat expected as well considering the matchup itself. And I used this opportunity to go into my Gliscor and utilize this opportunity to get up the default, cause now his rocker is gone, which is phenomenal, cause now this means that I'm the only one who can set them up later on with the Uxie. And I don't really need the Gliscor for anything else, cause he didn't bring the Crocodile and nothing else on his team. I really tend to utilize my Gliscor to deal versus, maybe just to prevent, I guess, Electros kicking Volt Switch, so he's most kicking fighting type move, but besides that it doesn't really have much worth. So I figured that's a perfect opportunity to get that. And then after he was going for the energy bar, got this PDF drop on the first try, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna waste the turn, go for Roost, cause then I lose my flying typing and I die. I keep it as a sack and I go into Licky Licky, as he predicts me swapping out, going for the Sludge Bomb, and then he gets the poison. I'm like, oh great, now you're getting a little heavy secondary effect with that thing, but I should be able to still manage with it, and hopefully it should not really matter too much. But it was kind of funny that he was able to get those at least. I guess in a hindsight, it wasn't really funny at that point, to be honest. I was kind of a little bit annoyed, but not really triggered, because I was still able to manage with it. But either way, now, when I got the Wish-Up with the Licky Licky and he went to his Hitmonchan, I was like, okay, well, you're giving a free turn for me to Wish Pass into Heracross, and I'm gonna demand a kill potentially. Unfortunately, when I go for the Facade, which I figured would be the best overall play, and it should be a 50% roll for me to get it, depending on what spread it is, I don't get that 50%. And he's able to get a little bit of chip back with the Ice Punch. So basically I'm around the same range as I was before, a little bit lower, before I received the Wish from the Licky Licky, but either way I was able to demand a kill with Alan, so we are able to now have pretty good position in a sense that we are up 6-4 and Heracross have been able to kill already 2 Mons. But it still definitely has its value as long as the Electros and Mega Venusaur are around, and those are the Mons which I intend to take advantage of it still. And now as the Keldeo came in, I'm gonna go into my Gliscor, basically sacking it to make sure that I don't let anything else still take a potential Specs Hydro, cause yet again I don't know which one it is. And I cannot tell from that either, but I figured I might as well sack it from here. Give myself a free turn on the Uxie, and here I figured I'm gonna go for the knockoff just in case if he predicts me go for the rocks and stays in, or he swaps out, and I'm able to eliminate one of the Mons items barring the Mega Venusaurs of course. And he did go into Swellow, I'm able to eliminate its life fall, which makes it a lot weaker as you can tell. And this is a turn where I can utilize the opportunity to get up the rocks, and then I get a slow U-turn on the Swellow on the following turn, and I get up my Tapu Koko in for free. And then I'm basically demanding a kill or a momentum with it and clicking Volt Switch. And I probably will put him in a position that this Swellow is probably gonna drop unless he, whatever reason, wants to save it. But I don't think after rocks being up and he doesn't have his remover left and that thing lost its item, I don't think he's gonna give me momentum to start swapping out. It's gonna be inevitable anyway that I'm gonna demand a kill. So you might as well give it right now. And give himself a initiative in that regard, which I'm okay giving him initiative as many times as I'm gonna be getting a kill, so I'll definitely take that exchange. And here I decided to go into Uxie because I figure that it's probably my best bet to get a little bit of a recovery. I can knock off the Electros or Keldeo's item, and if the Venusaur comes in, I probably wanna heal Bell up actually, cause the Licky Licky is being poisoned. So I prefer not to have that poison, so I can U-turn on the following turn, and then I can start pivoting around easier as long as he doesn't get the poison back on it. And then I'm forced to always to receive the Wish with the Licky Licky if I so choose to. But either way, that's gonna be initially what's going to happen here. As it's gonna be Synthesis using the synthesis right here when he was around the 50%, just to keep himself healthy, which I can perfectly understand why he did that, just to keep himself healthy. And now when I go into the Licky Licky, I take the Sludge Bomb. Again, he gets the poison immediately. I'm like, can I get a 1 turn when you don't actually get that, please? When I'm still healthy? But I guess his Mega Venusaur is being very talented right now and always getting these, so I'm like, well, whatever. I guess I'm gonna play this in a wrong route. And after I got the Wish, I figured like, can I get a Body Slam para? Please? You have been getting these pretty good rate too. And I do get a crit, which doesn't matter. But I do get the para, which does, I guess, help me out a little bit in the sense that I cannot get better status on this thing with my team. And getting a potential free turn with a full para, if he gets ever paralyzed, would be nice. And here, I'm basically trying to figure out a free turn that my Licky is a reasonable amount of health, that I'm happy with it, to leave it in there, and then hopefully I'm able to get up a Wish out of a potential turn to be able to Wish Pass into Mega Pidgeot or into Heracross on a turn when he's going for the synthesis to get myself a free turn. That was kind of what I was trying to accomplish on a couple of turns if we end up in a stare off with the Mega Venusaur, but he decides to pull the trigger immediately. I guess thankfully not to make us to go that many turns. And he's able to put up offensive pressure himself. And now he's gonna go into his Keldeo, clicking the Sacred Sword, and I was here like, okay, my Yuxi can take still 2 if this is Scarf. And if it's Specs, I can go into Coco and click Volt Switch and not care about it afterwards that. So I figured that I might as well go into Yuxi to see that which one this finally is, because I still don't know if it's Specs or Scarf, because it hasn't landed a hit on me to be able to calc from that. And he makes a double into Electros, I guess predicting that for me not staying in and be able to cover all the other plays I could have done, either the Yuxi or Coco for example, which makes sense. But it's perfectly fine for me, because now I can just knock off this Electros' Assault Vest, get a little bit of chip, because now it's around 59% after taking that knockoff and taking rounds of Stealth Rocks, which is perfectly fine for me. He also took a Volt Switch area, so all those attacks being, all those chip damage combined, it left it around 50%. And after Stealth Rocks it's gonna be below that, so I'm chipping him down. And now he went to his Keldeo, clicks the Hydro Pump, and I was low enough health that I still cannot tell which item it is. So I figured that either way, even if it's Specs, I then outspeed it with Mega Pidgeot and kill it. If it's Scarf, I take one Hydro Pump and still finish it off from there. So I figured this would be the best optimal play. If he goes into the Electros, which is a perfectly fine for him to do, because it still can potentially take 2 hits depending on what set I'm running. If I was offensive, I was 2-shotting it, but then it was more of a bad thing for me if I wasn't as bulky, because now I'm like, then I would be relying on rolls from Hydro Pump if I don't have the bulk. But either way, because I have the bulk and I don't have as much special attack, he's able to avoid the 2-shot, and I figured that I'm gonna go into the Licky Licky. Either he's gonna finish this one off with the Electros, which is fine for me. If he Volt Switches out, I can put myself in a position that this Licky Licky I can basically let go down, depending on what move he clicks with this Keldeo. And now because he clicked the Sacred Sword, I was like, okay, I might as well keep this thing as a sack. I'm going to Coco, because I don't need its health as much as I need on Mega Pidgeot to be fully healthy. If it's Specs, yet again I outspeed it on a following turn and kill it. If it's Scarf, he cannot 2-shot me from this range, even being modest, which you can tell. So I'll now be able to put myself in a very good offensive position, because either I kill that thing, or he's gonna have to sack this Electros to my Volt Switch. And here, I make a little bit of a quote-unquote a misplay to finish this game off, potentially quicklier. Barring him able to crit my Mega Pidgeot from full with a Hydro Pump. But I figured that because the Showdown cogs have been a little bit weird to me a few weeks, whenever I've been playing versus other opponents, I wasn't taking a risk that the cogs what I have been doing on Mega Venus or whatever reason was being wrong. So I wanted to make sure that I still get the guts activated on my Heracross. And even if the Keldeo comes in, I still have my sack on the Licky Licky, which I don't need for the rest of the game. And I don't have to worry about the difference, so I only need to win this game to get further around on this tournament. So I figured I might as well take that opportunity to get that guts ability activated again. I just let this Licky go down. And ideally from here, as long as this Licky finally goes down after this, I was clicking the protects just in case if I'm able to burn as many Hydro Bombs as possible, but I was gonna die to the poison anyway, so I guess it's pointless, but it happened. And here I was hoping that don't crit me. Don't crit me. You don't crit me. So I figured that, okay, well, if he doesn't crit me there as he did, I should be having this in the bag. Even if the Mega Venusaur somehow is a fully specially defensive and lives this Hurricane, which I don't think it still can, but off the chance he was able to, I still have the Guts Heracross in the back to finish it off with a Facade or a Mega Horn. So either way, either Mega Pidgeot or Heracross clean up the game. And thankfully, Kevin is able to finish that thing off, and the Mega Venusaur actually was a fully physically defensive, so it wasn't a roll or anything like that without an investment, and that is gonna be good game to Specstar. We are able to move on to the top 4, which I'm very happy about, and I'm very happy about how I played this game, how the team functioned. The only quote-unquote misplay what I saw for my behalf was that I utilized the turn to go into Heracross to get the Guts ability activated, where I could have finished it off a lot quicker, just going to make a Pidgeot and click Hurricane twice like I did in the end. But barring that, I'm happy how the team performed, I'm happy how I performed, and good game to Specstar. I don't think he really made many mistakes. I think my prep really just came through and I was able to execute it right, and it put me just in a good position to win. And sometimes that just happens, that the opponent is able to have a good prep which is able to execute it properly, and it's very hard to come back from that if you don't have just exact proper response to it. And he was basically playing to the late game that hopefully Keldeo is able to crit the Mega Pidgeot, or he's able to get a little bit of chip damage. So instead of leaving it like that, if he's able to get that kind of chip damage on my Mega Pidgeot somehow, he could have been able to win it with that Keldeo set. So it wasn't like it's going to be guaranteed win for me. He had his chance to win, but thankfully I was able to keep my composure and play it out like I wanted to. But either way, that is going to be our game. The top 4 game will be actually a 2 fellow Finnish countrymen, myself and Steve, going up against each other in top 4 rounds. So that would be a cool Finnish showdown for next time around for you guys to see. And until I'm gonna be coming back, I'll be yet again thank you guys for watching. Make sure to check out the playlist, make sure to check out my opponent's YouTube channel to check from his point of view. But until next time, I'll be see you guys later.